Welcome. This is an introduction to Confluence as a webinar. So for about the next hour or so, we'll be looking at a lot of the features that come with Confluence itself, beginning with just some of the basics, basic text editing, and some of the customizing tools as far as the look and feel of your content on your pages. And then we'll actually look at how you can actually begin to leverage this tool with some of the additional macros as far as integration with other Atlassian products, and really brings out the power of this particular tool itself. My name is Tony Hartsfield, and I am a business consultant with Expium, which is not Atlassian. We'll talk about what the difference between Atlassian and their Platinum Solution partners like Expium are a little bit later. But I am a solution consultant with Expium itself. Today, in our hour together, we're going to talk about, first off, just simply what is Confluence conceptually, so that you get a couple of ideas about how it might fit into your organization. We'll spend the time looking at the editing capabilities, some of the basics down to some of the more exciting ways to bring leverage and information onto your pages itself. We'll look at a couple of different reporting options, whether it's for a project or like we do for our clients. I'll even show you a couple of other examples as far as even a different department, how they might use Confluence itself for its managing of its information. It can also be used as a content portal, which is also useful for things like if you're happening to use Jira Service Management for your help desk portal. This is where your knowledge base can be kept as well from there. We'll talk briefly about governance, because what you're going to find out is that Confluence is a highly extensible tool, meaning if you don't have any structure as to how you're going to use it, you can really slip into dysfunction quickly. And so we'll talk just a little bit about governance. It's one of the areas that we find ourselves helping our clients with as they're beginning to utilize Atlassian products. And then we'll finish up with a Q&A session. So there actually is a Q&A module in this Zoom meeting itself. And so if you come up with questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to enter them in there, and then we'll review the questions at the end of the presentation. And stick around to the end, because my colleague Tyler is going to he's got a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses, and one attendee is going to win that pair of sunglasses at the end of our session today. So swag. You weren't expecting swag when you joined this webinar. Let's talk about then, from the beginning, what is Confluence as a tool itself? Confluence is it's Atlassian's tool that is, they would describe themselves as a wiki-style editor that can be used as a documentation tool. It is all online. It can have attachments, but it's designed to be the place where your information about your work might be located. As far as information sharing, a content portal, and also could be a great reporting mechanism. The idea here, and this is actually from our Confluence bootcamp, which I'll talk about a little bit later, is that without a tool like Confluence, information about how your organization gets gets the information it needs to do their work can be in really disparate places. It can be could be on the internet. It could be via email. It could be via whatever wherever locations are. And so the information could be in all these different locations. And the question is, where do people go to get the information? What Confluence can do is that your people go to Confluence, and then the information is linked to it and from a single source. And so it becomes a really nice centralized location for people to efficiently get access to the information. And Confluence itself as a tool has the ability to because it's customizable, you get to manage the message itself with lots of options. It's very flexible. And you can manage that yourself. The structure of Confluence, well, Confluence is basically broken down into what are called spaces, and a space has what are called pages. If you're familiar with Jira software, Jira has a similar construction in that Jira is broken down into something called projects. And then inside of the projects, the pieces of work are called issues. Well, the same kind of concept is here. You have a space, and inside of that space are your particular pages. Now, the pages themselves, or what the spaces are, can really be very flexible as to who is using your Confluence space. Let me show you another image. It could be built around an entire department, your IT department, your accounting department, HR, library, etc. It could be an option. Everyone has a personal space where they can manage their own draft information before it goes into the project. It could be around a single project or project team. Whether it is a Kanban project or whether it's a waterfall project, you could actually have a space dedicated to just the project or to your team, whether that's your entire IT department, whether that's your QA team, your DevOps, your training. All those options could be what's on there. Or it could be a combination of both, the team and the projects that they're working on. One of the examples I'll show you a little bit later has one of those settings where it's a group of teams and they share a master space, but then they can also break into their own areas of their own projects. And so really a great way to organize, and you have lots of options. Again, then that's where governance comes in, because if you have lots of options without any structure, that's where we find ourselves not being very efficient in our communication with our organizations. So it can really be around any of those things: a team, a product, a process, etc. When we start looking at pages, what we're going to see is that you have the ability to have a variety of content styles on there. One is just simply straight text. You can have links to either external resources or to internal content or to attachments, images. And then we actually have several macros, which are just simply tools that begin to do dynamic things with your context, with your information on the pages themselves. And then where that becomes really interesting is when we begin to integrate that with our Jira projects. There's great ways to integrate between Confluence and Jira. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's also that integration between Confluence and Jira Service Management if you're using it for your help portal. So lots of things that we can do with this. Let me go ahead and talk then about some of the basics first. And that's just simply basic text editing. Now, a lot of this has already been done, but I will peel back the curtain a couple of times to show you a little bit how some of these things are. But I want to show you first off that this has had multiple authors. And in fact, one of the features that we have here is the ability to do even simultaneous editing. There are times where you can have people at the, again, both can click into edit mode and you can share a document as you're writing. But let's talk about some of the basics as far as text editing. I am going to go ahead and open this document up in edit mode so that you can see it. This is a cloud instance, by the way, and I am using the premium licensing, which means it has a couple of features that don't come with standard, particularly something called Confluence calendar integration and something called analytics. We won't go into a lot of detail unless you ask for that in the Q&A. Otherwise, the rest is pretty standard as far as what the features are. And when you're in the one, also just another reference, by the way, if you happen to be in a server or data center instance, the look and feel is slightly different. The outcome is pretty much 90–95% the same, but you are looking at a slightly different UI if you are looking in the cloud instance. And so this demonstration is in cloud. So what you're seeing then is the page itself, title, basic text editing, and once you have text entered, you have a whole formatting toolbar for basic text. So the use of styles, which we use in here, which is great for things like table of contents, direct links to a particular heading, so you can not only get a link to a page, but to a particular heading on a page, and you can steer someone to the exact place of where they should look. And so you have like the bold, italic, underline, strike through, a couple of those other basic functionalities, alignment, color. There is the ability to have bulleted lists or numbered lists. There is indents. There is the increase or decrease indents on these. There is something in the layouts here. This is, once we move into what are called layouts. So this is straight text here. This is now we're moving into something called a layout, where this is, you can then begin to change the number of columns on your page, whether it's a 2-column, 3 right or left sidebar, etc. And so this is a right sidebar layout. And so inside of that then is text. They managed separately as text boxes instead of a table. Here's something called an action item, that when you insert an action item, you can actually keep it as a list. There actually is a macro called the actions list to capture those, to see, and we'll see it in a template, meeting notes template a little bit later, how you can collect these action items onto a page itself. If you mention someone that's in your instance, so in this case, Vicky was mentioned, once this gets published, Vicky receives notification of it. Here you can set dates and as many action items as you need to. On the right-hand side is also in a layout, but this is also a table. And the table then has a header row. We can add columns, add rows, add information. In cloud, this is not available in the data center side, but in cloud, they've also added a relatively recently new feature called chart, which is based upon the table information that you create. You can create simple charts to help visualize what this can do. And it can do simple line charts or bar charts, or in this case, a pie chart that you have the ability to edit as you need to. So again, a relatively recent feature using that. I mentioned earlier this idea of simultaneous editing. What happens is, because we can have multiple authors in the document at the same time, you can edit these things. And let me, as an example of how we use it here at Exfium, when I'm working with a client with my project lead, we might both be in the meeting notes page, taking notes together, so that she could be working on the action items. I could be taking notes on the interactions of the team. Or while she's presenting, I'm taking notes, and while I'm presenting, she's taking notes. So it's a great way to work on those as you're simultaneously working on the document itself. There's also is another form of working with the document, interacting, so there's simultaneous editing. There's also something called commenting. Let me show you a couple ways that commenting can be done. Commenting is done at either the bottom of the page, and I'm going to scroll down all the way to the bottom of the page. So at the bottom of the page, you can add comments and reply. So you have inline commenting as well, so that you can do that. You can add emoji, you can get the link to them, you can mention someone, and again, you'll have internal notifications as to how that works. There is also something called inline commenting, which is simply just a matter of selecting text, hovering over the text, and creating a comment. And again, commenting allows you to mention someone or get feedback that's on there. And in the cloud version, you can do inline commenting on both the published version, but you can also do it while you are in editing mode, which I think is a great plus forward in a big difference between Confluence and cloud and data center, is that I love the fact that I can make comments while editing, or I can also resolve comments while editing. So I can not only see what the comment was about, but I can actually make the changes that are suggested based upon that. And so that's a great feature, but there is commenting on both of those that are in there. So that's some of the basic texting elements that are on there. Again, basic text, including headings, numbered bullets, action items, and then splitting into different layouts, and so that you can manage where the text is located, and then also the use of tables. I will say that while tables are a great way to organize information, what you're not going to do, like in a spreadsheet, you're not going to do formulas. It doesn't do math. And so what we recommend in those cases is that if you actually do have something that involves formulas or values of that sort, probably you create that in that other tool, Google Sheets, Excel, etc. And then you can copy and paste the values into this, and it will fit into the table tools of Confluence itself. As I look at a couple of other tools, we just talked about simultaneous editing. Confluence manages linking pretty well. I will say again, in cloud, it has a much more visual effect as opposed to just putting in the text and the data center side. Data center, the links are very straightforward. They pretty much look like, if I were to change this, just the URL is typically what happens. But notice in cloud, I have the option of selecting what's called an inline. I also have something called a card, which is what this is. This is a link to a page, and this is the card link. And then a third option is, depending upon what the type of link it is something called embed. Now, what I like about this is that this is a page from another space in this instance, and it allows you to see that and then even access the ability to edit the page itself. This also works with documents. If I had if I was linking to a document from a shared location, for instance, if I have a Google document, my organization is a Google organization, so we use GDocs. I could put a link to a Google Doc, and as long as the viewers on the page also have access to the link itself, I could embed that link, and they would actually be able to view and even edit the document without leaving the Confluence page. I think it's a very powerful advantage that Confluence Cloud has over Data Center, let alone other types of tools. But just a great way to show you that. And then again, here is an external website. Here is the card. And then this is a YouTube video. It automatically knows what to do with media types of links. In other words, you can it knows to embed this. By the way, it does this in both the cloud side and the data center side. So again, if you have video content from your YouTube channel, from your learning management, wherever your system is storing the video content, maybe you have a Microsoft Stream server, as you are linking that, put a link to that video so you don't have to copy it to your instance. You can just share the link, and again, they can watch the video from your Confluence page itself. And then obviously simple things like email addresses can also be linked as well. So a great way to use links to leverage that information without having to necessarily add additional storage space to your instance itself. But let's say you do. What if you want to attach an org chart or want to attach a few images from your onto your spaces itself? That also can be done. So attachments, you have a couple of choices as to how they're going to work. One is just simply an inline attachment using the attachment tool. And so whether it's an image or a document, you can put embed a thumbnail of the image or the document itself into the page. Also notice this is in cloud. And in cloud, you have the ability to wrap text either to the left or to the right of text on the same paragraph. That is not a function in the data center side, but this is an option here. You could add a link to an image. And so not only could this be, the image itself, but it could also be hyperlinked to wherever you want it to go, whether it's internal or external to your particular document. And then there's also other types of macros. So this is what's called an inline macro. There's a few macros that essentially embed. And so here is one. If I were to publish this page, it's using a macro called PDF macro, well named, huh? And what it allows you to do is similar to that idea of seeing a document embedded. This is, again, that page, but I can also scroll through the document. I can also view it like a presentation mode. And so imagine you've got a PDF of a slide deck or just simply a multi-page report, and you want people to be able to navigate through the document itself without having to open it as an attachment. You're just viewing it as the embedded macro there. There are also macros to view these for Google Docs, also for being able to view a read-only copy of a Word document, Excel document, a PowerPoint file, so that you can at least scroll through the content. It's not editable, but you can be able to see those from there. And then there are a couple of macros that allow you to view just what attachments you have on your page itself. And so that's what this macro does. So you may not need to surface your attachments onto the page as thumbnails, but rather at the end of your page, you might list the macro so that your people are able to access, even preview potentially what the settings are of your attachments that are on there. Again, let me peel back the curtain on that one and show you. Here, this is that attachments macro that if I go and I edit it, you have lots of options as to how you want to sort these, include, exclude, sort by document type, sort by name, by date range, label, lots of things that you can do in that from there, whether or not you want to show previews, and then even allow for your viewers of your page to be able to add additional attachments to this particular macro to the page, or not. Maybe you just want them to be able to access or consume the content that you have in there as well. So I've mentioned the word macro a few times. Let me talk about some of the other macros that are available. So you've already seen like the PDF, you've seen attachments, but there are a few others that we recommend using, and there are several in there. Plus, if you were to have plugins into your Confluence instance, there are lots of great third-party tools that will have plugins that can do some interesting things as well on your Confluence page. Some of our favorites, this one's called the panel macro, and it comes in a variety of options: success, information, warning, note, error. You can even customize this. You can have your own panel that you choose the background color, you choose whether or not to use an emoji or not, and then you add the text. It's a great way to simply add color to your pages instead of just a solid white background. Another one that we use a lot is called the status macro, which is simply a button of colored text that's on there, and you customize the text, you choose the color. So we use this when we're doing things like status macro for how the latest release is working, whether it's in draft, in progress, whether it's release ready, etc. And we'll change the color and we'll change the verbiage on this as we're doing so. This is a great macro called the expand macro. What this can do then is you've got a lot of information, but you want to help reduce the amount of vertical scroll space that are going on. And so what we can do with this is control this by using these expand macros, and you can have as many on the page as you want to. Imagine the idea of this page is about a QA process, and that QA process actually has several different tasks involved in doing so. And each task then has steps as to how to do that particular task. Well, what if you could put those different tasks in their own expand macro? That way, as your team is moving down the list, if they already have memorized all the steps for that particular task, that's less scrolling they might need to do. And then for others that need to view it, they can always view it. Other things for using expands. We use expands for breaking down multiple exercises in our boot camps. You could imagine using it for different policies for your organization, that if you want to expand to view the policy, etc. So we love the expand macro, great tool from there. Others in here, very common, the table of contents, which is based upon headings or whatever header you choose. And so headings 1 and 2 are being used in this table of content to link to there. Something called a page tree, which often can go on your overview page, where if you want to say, hey, what can you look for in this particular space, with a search bar that's also built into it. There are, so these are exciting macros. Like I said, there's lots and lots of others that are very interesting to manage space. There's something called an excerpt include. Let me see if I have that. I believe I have that on another one. Let me see if I have an example of something like excerpt and excerpt include. So excerpt, you get content from one page, and that's called the excerpt macro. And then the excerpt include, the content can be displayed on other pages based upon the excerpt include macro. This fits into a key governance idea about how you're going to organize your Confluence space. And one of the guiding principles that we would recommend to our clients as far as governance goes is that the information might be displayed in more than one place, but the information is only maintained in one place. And so if you need that policy to show up in more than one location, either more than one space in your Confluence instance, we recommend that's where the excerpt macro and the excerpt include one be. You can also do something called the include page macro, which can have an entire page from even another space in there to be displayed, but it's managed from one location. And so again, I'm sort of giving you a hint about governance, but that's a couple of things that we really like. So again, a few of those macros are really, really useful. But now let's talk about how it looks like when you are now trying to integrate with your Jira projects. And among the things that you can do is that you can select text in a published page, similar to the way we did when we were going to comment. But now you can also create a Jira issue from your project. So that from your Jira project that's in the same instance as this one, and it will create then that issue in your project, and even let you know where it is on the workflow by showing the statuses itself. So great, quick way to do that. The opposite direction, by the way, if you have a link to an issue already in your Jira project, you can just simply paste it into your screen itself. And again, this will give you the option. This is using the card view, by the way, but I could also just look at the link. So it works both directions, whether you're going to create from Confluence or you just want to see the status from Jira into your Confluence page. And then there are ways to surface Jira project information based upon a Jira search, a query JQL search. And so this is what's called an issues list macro, and it's just showing me based upon this is looking in a project, and it was looking for anything essentially that was unassigned or is not been started yet. And so I'm seeing that. And then the very same macro could be used in a Jira chart, whether it's pie or two-dimensional. In this case, it's a pie chart. And this is showing me, again, and they decided this is showing me some information as far as the issues list. The exact same macro, this one is showing me by assignee. So you can see how some of these things can be displayed and how they work from there. And then I'm going to go over this. Let's put it all together. What can some of this begin to look like then If we're going to be seeing, so far we're just sort of seeing the tools. Now let's begin to leverage this tool in a couple of different contexts. And one is just simply one that we use with our clients, and that is we do client engagement pages. And so whether this is whether we're inviting the client to one of our spaces, or more likely, we're going to be given a space in their instance where we will create then an engagement space for the amount of time that we're going to be working in there. And here you're kind of seeing all things put together then, as far as what are you seeing then. Why? Well, we really believe that Confluence can be the great place for reporting on your projects. Now, the actual work is taking place in Jira. And so your project teams are going to be spending most of their time in Jira itself, potentially in the dashboard, certainly on the Kanban or Scrum boards, et cetera, in the issues list. And so your team is probably going to be working over there. But the people that are your stakeholders, your management team, the people that you're reporting to, that want to have visibility in the project, well, we believe that Confluence could be the great place for them to go to consume, to review, to see what's going on in the project for a couple of reasons. One, it's very visual, as you're seeing. But second, the most important part is what you're seeing here is a combination of things like layout, so a two-column layout, a use of tables, and then these macros that are throughout the page. This is a calendar macro, which comes with the premium licensing of Confluence, whether that's cloud or data center. But here's that attachments macro. Here is that info panel macro. Here is just simply a table, and we've created a table. But now what you have then is the Jira issues list macro, but you have the ability with a table to put text all around it to explain what's going on. So you could look at this list and say, okay, what am I looking at? Well, this is what we completed in this past week. Here is what's in progress. Here is what is still in to do. And depending upon what you want to display in the list, because you can customize what fields are showing. But you're not only looking at the issue list, you're also giving them context. You're giving them what to look for, interpretations. And that's what we think makes this such a great tool. Here's another macro. You can also embed an advanced roadmap. If you have a premium level of Jira software, again, either cloud or data center, you can have a link from your advanced roadmap and paste it into your Confluence page. It is read-only, but it is somewhat still interactive. They can expand the epics to see the underlying issues. These issues are linked, and so if they wanted to, they could click to actually go and view the issue in the Jira instance itself. And so again, great tool that's on there using an advanced roadmap. And then here's another set of tables, again, just to show you some ideas. Again, another info panel, another table with issues lists and charts. These are the exact same JQL searches. This is searching for in a project that has a label called assessment, and that's what this is designed here to. This is for tooling, this is for training. And so you can actually see, and then INA, depending upon those labels. So as you're kind of seeing how all these things can be put together in a visual, informative way, that as you are presenting to your management team, whether you're doing that via sharing a screen. I'll show you a couple of other fun features coming up, by the way, in cloud. Unfortunately, some things are not available in data center, but all these things, you can make this exact thing set up in a data center view as this. Here is that expand macro again. For our expand macros, we use, this is where we're going to put, for our clients, we'll put the statement of work into that. So that at any given point, if we're having a discussion as to whether or not what we're working on with them is in or out of scope, we can go to the statement of work, and if we need to modify, we can. But that's a great way to see all of those from there. Cloud also will have offering these what are called related pages links. You won't see this in data center necessarily. You can label your pages if you're using, and labels could be any number of things. You could be labeling it as far as what area of your IT department. This has to do with QA. This has to do with DevOps. This has to do with approvals. It could be different departments. It could be whether it's technical versus admin, any number of things. You as an organization can manage how you're labeling your products, your pages. Also, by the way, again, the reference to if you're using Jira Service Management, this is where your knowledge base articles are kept in Confluence, and labeling then can help when your customers are at the help portal and they begin to type a request. You can have suggested KB articles show up based upon labeling, and then potentially help avoid a request because they found the answer themselves. So that's a great tool from there. So I hope you're seeing that this is a extensible and useful tool. And again, for us, we find that this is really a great tool for gathering that information all together and then allowing us to display it to, if it's our client, or if you're managing how you're presenting it to your stakeholders, your PMO, whatever the leadership happens to be. Okay. Let me also then show you. Let me go into another type of presentation here. So, and then I'll talk about things like templates. These are all based upon blank pages, but there are lots and lots of templates that you can use. And also, I can also, let me show you another example of how an organization might be doing this. But if I finish looking at this, so here it is as an engagement dashboard. So that is the page showing the overall reports. This is using a template called meeting notes, and it creates then not only the meeting notes themselves, but it also has what's called a meeting note index. If I, by the way, go to templates up at the top, and I want to actually choose these, I do want you to see that in Cloud, there are 130 templates that come out of the box from Confluence. And so several of these are companies that have had relationship with Atlassian, and so they've designed some of these templates. These are all customizable though, so if once you select a template and you decide you want to change some elements, you as the space administrator, the creator of the space itself, or as the Confluence administrator, you have the ability to modify these so that it fits your needs from there. I'm going to go back and show you then the meeting notes. Here is then the meeting note ones, and so you have, again, built-in items here, whether or not you have action items or not, decisions, and then what happens with the index is that it collects then, here is that action item macro, the task list. Here is what's called the decisions macro, which can help you that, and then a collection, basically just a collection of pages that are in this group underneath there. So like I said, there's a lot of templates on the cloud side. There are about 20, I think, on the data center side, so it's not as extensive, but the ones that are there are pretty useful, and I will say that works pretty well. And then other ways that you might organize your pages, and so you could create parent pages, and then underneath that, what's going to be the docket. So when we're working with our clients, what sort of apps are we integrating with? What other integrations? What other third-party tools we need an API for? And then what type of Jira integration we're having from in there. And then we also might create, if their team is agile, then we might create just the information pages about the organization of roles, ceremonies, what toolbox your agile team is using. But let me flip over into another space. Here is a marketing space. And by the way, this is an intro to the team template. So this is not ours that we created, but it's really simple. It's just a matter, this is simply a table, and then they've changed the background color of the header row, and then they put some text in here with emojis. This is a latest updates macro. This is just text, and then with hyperlinks that are built in there. They've created a meet the team page, and these are using they're using the logo, the profile logo pictures of your users in your instance itself. And so again, the calendar macro, frequently used, so lots of things from there. And then they've created a project dashboard for the entire marketing team. But that marketing team is made up of these 5 groups. And so here's what they're working on. And then you can break that down. So this is this is an advanced roadmap of the overall department, but then each team could have their own organization page. So you can just kind of see, hopefully you're getting some good ideas that are on here. And I just want you to see, so some of those same tools that were used in our engagement are also used as individuals, right? And then they're using the meeting notes. And then there's a couple of other integrations that are going on in here. And I probably am going to have to, let's see if it's going to let me get in. This is a Miro board. Miro, by the way, Miro is a great online whiteboarding tool that we use for drawing, organizing. When we're first having that governance discussion with our clients, we're not in an Atlassian tool. We're in Miro or whatever it is their whiteboarding tool is, because we're going to draw this out first, create the relationships, and then from this particular diagram, that's when we may begin to start building that project in Jira, or building out the spaces in Confluence itself. You can also include a Trello board, and I'll probably have to log into this one. Let's see if it's going to force me to do. And pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So you can have a Trello board on your page itself. And by the way, if you're not familiar with Trello, Trello is another Atlassian product that is a simple task board. It can be used in Kanban settings, or just simply managing your projects themselves. A lot of our colleagues use Trello to manage their own personal life. And so this is how you can do that. And this is an actual functioning board. Actually, you can move things across the board from left to right on your board itself. You can create new ones. You can have others. So if you haven't tried Trello, you can go to Atlassian.com and look at their products. They have free levels of Trello to take a look at that. And then again, this is just simply embedding then those documents again. In this case, these are embedded Google Docs. This one I don't have edit rights to, but I can read. This one I actually have edit rights to, and so I can add or delete to, make changes without having to leave the Confluence page. And so great tools, I think, for allowing you to see that. So hopefully you're getting a couple of examples as to how we're going to do that. And now that we've seen so many things, maybe we ought to talk about a little bit about governance. But first, since I've had you this long, please give me the chance to talk a little bit about who we are as a company as far as XTM goes. So I don't want to go into this too much. But XTM is a platinum solution provider, which basically means that a number of your consultants have to be certified Atlassian professionals. So we pass at least 2 exams from Atlassian in order to be able to do so. And because of that, we have, when you talk to XPM, you're really not talking to someone who is in limited in sales. You're talking to someone who actually is a solution partner itself with professionals. And so all of our consultants pursue and maintain our certification. We are now part of another group called Valiantis, though, and as we have joined them, we have now become the largest platinum partner for Atlassian itself. So we're number 1, yay. And what do? Well, we offer training like this. This is our free webinar time. Every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time, we offer a webinar on a variety of topics. So however you found this one, we offer a different topic every Thursday. But we also do several different boot camp classes. And for either public classes or also on-site with our clients, we can also do that. I'm going to take you to our events page in just a moment to do so. We also do the consulting. For those that are looking at Atlassian products, we can help you with licensing, we can help you with installation, with setup, with governance, with support, all things Atlassian tools we can help you with. Implementation, migration. Some of you maybe needed to go from server to cloud in the next year. We're doing a lot of that lately. We have a lot of clients that are moving into Jira Service Management for their ITSM solutions, and we're doing a lot of those things as well. And then we also have a team of software developers. We have a full stack development team that if there's something that you need Atlassian tools to do, whether it's working with another tool you already have in your environment, we have several of our coders who could create custom solutions for you as well. And so those are the types of things that we can do. If I show you our website, and then Tyler's going to place this in there, please feel free to search us out. But I did want you to see under our events calendar, anytime where you see apply, that means these are free events that's on there. I can't highly recommend this one enough. If you are at all thinking about Jira Service Management, we have next month a fun, no obligation webinar on March the 21st from 10 to 11:30 Central Time. It's not only the presentation about Jira Service Management, there's going to be chocolate. We have a local gourmet chocolatier in the area, and we will be shipping out a small box of chocolates for you to sample. We'll even meet the chocolatier as we do so. Great event. Feel free to do so. We have another similar event under Jira Align, but that's over wine. That's an evening event. And then our several boot camps that are going on. We actually do a 1-day hands-on class on Confluence, where it's not like you see me talking about it, you actually get to do all these things that I've just demonstrated for you. That is, and that is a 1-day class. It can also be bundled with a 3-day class, an intensive dive into Jira software itself. And so if you are a project manager, if you are a Jira administrator, and you would like to learn how to use the tools better, this 4-day boot camp is a collection. This is brand new, a project portfolio. No, I'm sorry, these are webinars. We have a brand new boot camp developed, and I don't know if it's even been released yet, but we are, if you're looking at Jira Align and you don't want to make the initial investment to make that happen, we're working on some solutions to at least introduce you to Jira Align. But I encourage you to look in our events page itself to see what's going on and see if there's other areas that we could be of service to you. And if it prompts you to have a conversation with us, that's what we would love to have as well. So anyway, I just want to, enough of that commercial, but I did want you to, we're really excited about what we offer, and hopefully we can do have some work with you. So let's go back to then a little bit about governance. And that is, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but the reality is that you are going to need some sort of governing body to help you organize this. I've already mentioned that first rule of you should have your content in one location, and then you could have it displayed in other locations. And so that's really one of the first guiding line. You want to simply have some guidelines as to how your people are going to use spaces. Do you want to have suggested templates, some suggested forms of how they should present themselves? Should their overview have an introduction to the team? Should it have the mission statement of what you do? Should it have a list of the project work that you're doing? Should it show them where to find the information about you, where your policies are, where your forms are, where your processes and procedures are, and how to locate those things? And so your space should be developed around those things. But however, like this picture is showing, there could be more than one approach to this. And unfortunately, Confluence, or maybe it is fortunate, Confluence is going to let you organize in any one of those ways, even if it's disorganized. And so the phrase that we use here is, without good governance, you're simply going to amplify dysfunction. But just keep in mind that what sorts of standardizations you're going to have as far as either content, locations, management from there. And then you can also permission a page as far as who gets to see it, who can edit it. You as the space administrator, the person who owns the space, or as the Confluence administrator. There is also the ability to manage that from the Confluence administrator side as well. And so who gets to view it, who gets to work with it, those are managed from either of those administrative places. If this is of interest to you and you would like to have a further discussion, we love to have at least that initial contact. We're not going to obligate you to anything, but if you would like to talk about what some of these things might mean for your organization, you will find also on our website the ability to reach out to us, to contact us. The other area that you can contact us, Tyler will put in the chat an email to the project office where he's located. And anytime you want to have a further discussion, we're happy to do that as well. So I've covered a lot of material in a relatively short amount of time. It's a quick sprint, these webinars are. And so what I want to do is pause real quickly just to see if there are any questions. I'm not going to open up the Q&A panel just to see if there's anything going on. There's a question about how do I merge Trello, Jira, Google Suite to Confluence seamlessly? Well, the answer is if you have you just paste the links really, or you use the Trello macro and you put the link to whatever is the Trello board itself. And as long as you have rights to it, you saw I had to sign in to my Trello account because I'm not using my regular machine here for this webinar. But when I'm at my desk, it just automatically shows the one. So really all it's just a matter is do people have access to those same things? And if they do, wherever you link it to in your Confluence page will work seamlessly. It really does. Can the macros meeting notes template action point automatically to translate to Jira or Trello board card? That's a really good question, and I'm not sure that I have that answer, Victoria, but what I'll do is I have your name here, as we reach out, I will see if I can find an answer for you. If any of those, I know there are some macros or some templates that do that. Like for instance, there is actually a template called Jira Project Report, and it has in it sort of some of those built-in macros that you saw me use on our report page. And so there actually is one of those. But I'll look at whether it can talk to another Trello board card. As far as can it interact with an issue type, out of the box, I'm not thinking of anything. There's a potential for a macro that can do that. There is also the ability to add, like for instance, what Jira has what's called an issue collector. that you could put into Confluence, so you could create an issue from there with more than just the summary and description fields. You could actually add a couple more custom fields if you wanted to. But that's a really good question, Victoria, and I will have to look into it, and I will reach out to you with potentially a couple of other options. I want to take, since I got a couple minutes left, and unless there are other questions, I do also want, there's a couple of other features that come with cloud. These are cloud that I did want to go ahead and show you. One is called what's called presenter mode, which if your page is published, you have the ability to kick into what's called a full screen presenter mode. So again, if you are having a web meeting and you're sharing your screen, this is a way to go through and share the detail of this. I think that's interesting. I've used it with one client to do so. And then the last thing I want to show you before moving in is, and I'm sure there's lots more to do, but cloud instances. Atlassian just released last fall, I mean like maybe November of last year, is something called automation. Again, this is cloud only, but if you have done any automations in Jira software or Jira Service Management, then you understand some of these ideas. And so this is a great new tool. We're still kind of playing with this, but things like add specific label. So think about your knowledge base. It can automatically add certain labels. You can schedule to archive pages that haven't been touched in a while. That's if you're using analytics. Notify people when pages are created or the status is changed. What do I mean by status, by the way? If I go into a page, and I don't see a status here, so let me show you. Let me peel back the curtain. There's something here in cloud. There's a similar feature in data center, but you can actually create, these are the ones that are out of the box, but you can actually show where this page is as far as in your production goes. Is it ready for prime time? Is it still being worked on? Or if you're looking at this content, know that it's going to be edited, kind of stuff. And so that is a way that you can have statuses on there as well. So that's a couple of things I want to show you. And then let me show you one more thing, and that is, let's see if I have, let me find a page that I have access to. And that is for cloud. This is just cloud. There is under user management, you must be an org admin to do this typically, or the Jira admin. There is a group that comes with a cloud instance called Confluence Guest. And this is a new feature with data center, with cloud, not in data center, that for each license you have of Confluence, you could have up to 5 free guests to join you on one space, but without an additional cost to your licensing. You can add additional people to a space using guests. That's exciting. I think it's interesting. And again, if you'd like to talk about that with us in the future, you can. Hey, I have run out of your time. And so some of you are just sticking around to see who's going to win the Ray-Bans. So Tyler, who gets the Ray-Bans?
Yes, so Shamara Powell, you have won the Ray-Bans. Congratulations. Feel free to send your mailing address to us at team@xbm.com. And yeah, that's it.
Congratulations. Hey, I hope this time was beneficial to you. I hope it was potentially a good introduction to our to us and to the tools itself. Please feel free to reach out. I hope to see you in future webinars. and potentially in one of our bootcamp classes. Again, my name is Tony Hartsfield. This has been the Introduction to Confluence webinar. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of your day.